Hello. What you're about to see is me, an enthusiastic amateur, converting the single light in my kitchen to recessed downlights. You should check what the law is where you live, in England, but potentially not in Scotland or Wales. At the time of recording, you are free to do some electrical work on your own home, although what your insurer would have to say about it is a whole other question. If you don't know how to safely isolate a circuit before working on it, please don't get involved in electrics. I'd also advise having another person around to keep an eye on you for safety while you're doing this kind of thing. This was filmed 6 months ago, and I can report that the lights have worked perfectly since then. I've installed the same brand in my hallway and fitted a dimmer in that case. That works well too. Just make sure to use a decent brand of dimmer like a V Pro, otherwise they're guaranteed to flicker. Having said all that, crack open a beverage and enjoy. So, this evening's mission, kitchen lights. Let's just put the existing light back in, just so I can show you roughly what it's like in here. So, this is what I inherited when I bought the house, so quite a lot of sort of shadowing. I don't know if you can really see that on the camera, but quite a lot of shadowing on the worktops. So of course I came along and stuck some lights on the worktops, which kind of fixed that. Lovely stuff. However, I'm still kind of bored with the centre light in this room. Now, to be fair, it's got a sort of shade on it of a fashion, which is just down there for a moment, but it doesn't do it for me. I like the nice modern look, and the nice modern look is downlights. So that's what I'm going to try and do in here. Never done anything like this before. I'll probably cut a little segment in at this point explaining how I decided on the number. And we're back. So 4 is the plan. Now you can see I have measured from the edge of the coving there and the edge of the coving there and found the centre, which is that pencil mark, which the laser is going through. The laser's down there, by the way. And then on this side, I've done the same thing. So that's running through there. So if it's running through the centre of the room on both ends, it's a straight line. That's the line we want to position our stuff on. And by a little bit of trial and error, which you can sort of see reflected with the scribblings on the ceiling, I have marked out my positions. I just wanted to show you while the laser was still up. I mean, I may be a couple of mil out in my markings at the ends, but even so, I would say that that light fitting maybe isn't quite central to the space, although since it's been there since the 1960s, probably wasn't done with a laser. I'm not all that convinced it's central to the room this way either, although it's not far off. And I guess that's the thing. We don't have to be perfect down to the nearest millimetre, we have to be close. So I've gone for 71 millimetres between my marks. I measured the first ones off the ends, second ones off the first ones, and then these two are hopefully 71 apart from each other or pretty close. So one reason I'm going for a central line of these things is I think the joists above the ceiling run in that direction, and I think that there's an open trough above here. I think that for 2 reasons. First of all, the stud magnets, the only screws I found anywhere in this ceiling are 2 in line with each other there, which gives me some confidence in my joist run that way theory. I've also been above the ceiling in other parts of the ground floor of this house, and I think they're all running that way. So hopefully I shouldn't have to make loads of holes in the ceiling. I can't get in from above because it's a laminate floor, so hopefully I can cut my positions into the ceiling and then rod the cables through. Hopefully the 3 coming out behind this light fitting can be pulled over behind either that position there or perhaps this one here, stick a junction box on and then feed our 4 new light positions. So the next job, so I've had the endoscope, boroscope camera in behind this thing. There's a wooden batten there, which is good because the only reason I can think of for there being a batten is if there isn't a joist for that to screw to. I'm hoping that if I cut this one open first, fully, I can stick my mobile phone camera up and visually verify what's going on over there, because the endoscope camera suggests that the cables from this thing are actually clipped along the plasterboard there. If they are, I'd quite like to be able to sort of try and move them out of the way, obviously before I try cutting a hole at that point, because I might catch them with the hole saw. So you can see I've got a brand new 70mm hole saw there. It is Friday night. I'm not going to do all of this tonight. What I am going to do, with a fairly weedy battery drill and a fairly thin wood bit, I'm going to pilot the first location. I'm going to use this piece of wire to stick up above the ceiling and rotate to try and check there are no obstructions on the other side. And once I've confirmed that one, I can cut that out and use that to visually verify the others. Right, that's our first pilot hole, and I don't feel like there's anything on the other side of it, so we'll take our... Actually, maybe we'll just make a slightly less ridiculous hook in that. Now take our pilot wire, through she goes, round she goes, and twiddle she goes. I think that's rotating freely. So, oh, we've come this far. I did say I wasn't going to do too much more tonight, but let's check the second one while we're at it. So, okay, here we go. You can watch with me as I go through this. Okay, just gently does it. Gently does it. Right, we're through. So if we pop that there, and again, let's just check behind with our wire. Yep, no sign of anything obstructing that. And again, if we just go through like so, no sign of any bother there. So just go through one more time and check that. Rotate, 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 and ease that back out. Yeah, okay, so that's two positions. I think that might be a good place to stop for this evening. So the next footage you see will be when I have got the dust eliminator, cut out that one there, and then I'll be able to look that way and see where those cables going to the light are, because I don't want to cut or drill at all either of those positions until I'm certain I'm not going to wallop straight through a lighting cable on the other side. Thank you and good night. Right, morning after the night before, and I've just been out to TLC and got a few bits we need to finish the job. Junction box there, 6 meters of 1mm cable, which should be more than enough for this. Got one of these things that goes around a hole saw and catches all the dust and muck when you've got a hole in the ceiling, and I've treated myself to a new tape measure, since this one over here that my grandfather's had half his life is just getting a bit wimpy in its old age. So the next thing is I'm just going to put the laser line back up and use it and the tape measure to double check that my marks are equidistant from each other and the walls. Once I've done that, and I open that one up fully and use that to visually check where those cables are and that there aren't any joists in the way after all. See you in a tick. Right, I'll prop you lot up over there, and I hope that's a reasonable angle. And you can come along for the ride while I commit to this. Okay, around there. Right, here we go. I'm wondering if this drill just doesn't quite have the guts for it. One moment, please. Alright, here we go with a bigger drill. Okay, guide the pilot into the hole, lift that up, hold it steady. Right, and hold that steady while all the crap settles in the basket. Okay, dust mark on the ceiling there, nothing that won't brush off. Oh, I'll just turn that off at the wall to avoid any incidents. Right, let's take you along with me and we can find out together if it's all been worth it. Take the torch. Okay, put the torch pointing that way and then I'll slot you up there. Ooh, will I though? It's not quite wide enough. Bother. One moment, please. Alright, time for the boroscope, and no, I don't mean daytime television. So, this is just a big, long USB lead with a camera and a light on the end. If you've ever wondered what the difference between a boroscope and an endoscope is, an endoscope is something that medical professionals insert into people, whereas a boroscope is for looking inside walls and ceilings, or engine, you know, spark plug wells or whatever. So the cable on this is a little bit dicky, so you just sort of have to fiddle with it until the standard Windows camera app twigs that there's something there, which go on. There we go. Switch cameras. Oops. Right. Now we can have a look up there and see what's what. Alright, I wasn't able to get many of my boroscope wrestlings on camera, but we are okay. It is an open void going down that way. You can see the cables swooping out the back of that light fitting just there. It's all open that way, it's all open that way, and we can commit to doing the other holes. Back in a tick. Right, what I'm going to do next is cut out this hole, because I need to see if I can get the wiring from the back of that light fitting out through that hole where I can junction it off. So the good news is, I don't know how well you can, oh, hang on. So the good news is all three of the cables we want are just clipped onto a joist just there. So I reckon if I can get that clip off and pull them over, that'd be perfect. Meanwhile, bad news is there is a bit of cross-bracing woodwork right there, which hopefully I've got just enough clearance, but I'm going to get a light at this point and check. So luckily this turned up 5 minutes after I did. So we'll just have a look together and see what we've got. I'll pop you there perhaps. So we have got 1, 2, I've sent a little keychain and a removal tool perhaps. That's nice. A few little samples there, fair play. And got a 3, 4. So we've got our 4 lights, and we've also got our bezels. So let's just have a little look. So there was like brushed chrome and expensive brushed chrome. Let's just compare. Okay, so it's lighter than that, but not dramatically so, and I reckon that'll look good against a white ceiling. So the key question is, are these lights shallow enough that I'm going to get away with my having hit woodwork? Let's find out. Okay, stop you for... So fortunately, yes, that will sit in there, even though there's that bit of woodwork behind it, so that's all right. On with the show. So unfortunately, I've had to Swiss cheese the ceiling a bit more than I was hoping to. Let me show you why. A lot of respect for the torch. A lot of respect for the guy who clipped those cables up in 1968. He's probably dead by now, but damn, he did a nice job, and there's no way I can get that off without damaging the cable, so I've had to make an access here. Hopefully that will let me prise it off. Right, cables rescued. So I've got enough length now to put a junction behind this lighting position, patch up the centre, and as I'll show you later, I'll have to put the 2 cutouts back in there and fill over it. Obviously the one where I hit wood will be a doddle to screw to. That one I'm going to have to stick a batten behind. Could be worse. And did I damage these trying to wrench them off the clips? Well, if we have a look, I'd say this one here has been caught a little bit against the clip. I don't think I've... Is the camera going to focus on that? Don't think I've gone through the outer insulation, but I'll probably just heat shrink a little bit of sleeve over that just to make sure it's okay. Right, I've just put some yellow heat shrink on the scuffs there where I pulled that off the clip, or tried to. Hadn't actually penetrated through the grey in either case, so don't have to get into repairing the innards and crimping it and all that. Just wanted to ensure double insulation was maintained. Third one's okay. Before I took these out of the light fitting, I did mark this one, which is the switch wire. So, what next? I think it's time to make the other 2 holes, make sure there's no surprises there. There shouldn't be. Then, junction box, well actually no, other 2 holes, we'll rod the wire through all the points, then we'll do the junction box, then we'll put the lights on. Actually before that we'll do a little bit of dead testing, put the lights on, and then all I'll be left to do is repair the 2 extra holes plus the old light fitting that I did not want, which is fine. See you in a tick. Right, cable fishing time. Got my cable rods, got my hank of cable. We need to get the cable from that hole, passing through the lighting positions to that hole, and then looping back to this one so it can go into the junction box. So let's do that. Right, cable comes out there. Still got a rod taped to the end of it. Cable goes up there. So I had to do a little bit of fettling at the intermediate points, but not too bad. So now I need a nice loop sticking out of that hole, and that hole. I need an end over there because that'll be the last one in the line, and I need the beginning here so it goes into the junction box. Righty-ho. Right, quick stop for a cup of tea and an update. So we have our end of line there, our loop ready to receive a light there, a loop there, 4 cables to go into our junction, and a loop to receive a light there. The only thing I'm annoyed with myself about so far is, well, having to make access to get that cable clip off was fine. Having to make access twice because I did it in too much of a hurry and went straight into the wood there. Need to be a bit more careful, boy, but it is what it is, and I know how to repair it. Right, coffee break done. We're nearly ready for the junction box to go on. These black and red cables that have probably been in the ceiling longer than I've been alive were a bit of a pig to strip the ends of, but we got there. Need to get one more piece of earth sleeving for that, get the box on, get the connectors on, and once they're on, be ready for some lights. There's our junction box, no insulation on show outside it. Pop him, oops, up the ceiling. These things are so quick compared to faffing about with the old way. We don't need stud magnets anymore. Interesting factoid, those were the only two plasterboard screws I could find in the whole ceiling, so I guess they use non-ferrous screws, or it's just being held up by magic. Anyway, I'll try and show you lot me doing the last one. So I pop you over there. Hopefully you've got something of a viewport. I've had quick wires cable strippers for a while because they're quite nice anyway. It's got a mark on it there for the right length, so you just do that. Do that to take the inner off. This one's extra easy because it's the end of line, so there's only one to do. So we separate the neutral earth and live into the 3 slits in there, push it down until it meets some resistance. Click that shut. I guess I'll click the other port shut because there's nothing going in it. And that really is it. So there we are. Okay, we're going to turn the rest of the lighting circuit back on and check that that's all right first. Lights downstairs in garage, on she goes. Lights are on in here, so that's a good start. Dining room lights, anyone? Yes, lovely. Hallway, fine. Downstairs loo on the motion sensor, that's come on as soon as it got power. And the lounge, fine. So that's all other points on the circuit, okay. Obviously turning on that light switch won't do much just yet because there are no lights. So let's fix that. Right, so we've got our lights, 1, 2, 3 and 4. I haven't tried it yet, so let's find out together. Big reveal. Way hey. So that is 4 lights. Let's have a look at colour temperatures. There's a teeny tiny little switch on these which, hang on, which isn't labelled. So I think they arrive set to warm white, and I've flipped them all into cool white, which I think is what you want in a kitchen. So at this point, I'm going to get those put away in the ceiling. I'm going to clean up as much mess as I can, and I'm going to repair those unwanted holes. So let's talk about repairing holes. Obviously this one where I hit wood, there's a nice piece of wood to fix to. So all I've done is I've taken my original cutout, and what you do is you tighten up the central screw a bit so it sits below the level of the plasterboard. And the idea is I'll then stick some filler round the outside and over the middle, sand it back, and that'll be repaired. Obviously the original centre light position needs filler in the same way, and that's fine. This one's a bit more interesting. What I'm going to have to do for this is batten it off. Hopefully that bit of wood's just, there we go. So the idea is I'm going to hold that piece of wood, that batten there. I need to drill, there's not a lot on here. Technically you're supposed to, I'm going to have, I wonder if I can just screw to that and it'll just hold it. Tempted to try that because really I think that would need to be a bit longer. Maybe, yeah. I'll try. I think probably it ought to be a bit longer and I ought to put 2 screws to hold it in place, but I'm going to try and see if friction alone will hold it tight enough to fill. Should have made the batten a bit longer really, but I think I've just about got away with it. So yeah, flush enough to fill over, flush enough to fill over, and likewise there. So let's get the filler. And there we are. So that'll need, once that's set, that'll need sanding back, probably one more fill to get completely into those gaps, sand that back, maybe a lick of matte white just to completely disappear the repair, but overall, not a bad little job for a Saturday morning. And I'm going to clear everything up and take myself down the pub for a late lunch. One last interesting factoid for you unearthed during the clearing up. So each of these lights that's gone in uses 6 watts, if I'm reading that correctly. And the LED bulb from the old centre fitting that I've taken out is 13.5 watts. So, okay, that's 10 watts more, 10.5 watts more. But the difference in the quality of the light is just fantastic. I don't know if the camera's really picking it up, but the whole room just feels way brighter than it did before, and you've got good colour matching with the undercabs for the cool white there. So yeah, somewhat ironically, having smartened up my kitchen no end, I'm going to go to the pub for lunch. So long.